Hey everyone, first of all, thank you for being here. Really appreciating you taking your time and joining this presentation today. I know that you can be busy running clubs, especially this time of the year. So the fact that you are here tells me that you actually care about this. And that's exactly the kind of people I want to talk to today. So before we dive in, let me really quickly introduce myself so you know who is speaking to you. My name is Ruben, and I've been rowing for the last 16 years, and I've been deeply involved in the rowing world. First, as an athlete myself, where I competed at two world championships. And during the last years, my team and I have helped dozens of rowing clubs across Europe and the US to fix common problems that all club faces. Just to give you an idea, we have taught more than 1,000 people rowing. We have inspired more than 650 people to continue with rowing for the clubs that we help. And we have trained and got in more than 180 people into coaching and generated close to $1 million for us and our partner clubs just by bringing people into rowing. And we have done all this within 1.5 years. Now, I'm not saying this to show off or brag. I'm just saying it to inspire you and to give you some context, which is the reason that I've put together this presentation for you today. So now that you know a little bit better about me, let's talk about you. Because you are not here to listen to my story, you are here to take the next step for your club. So let's look into that. Let me tell you what we're going to cover today together. First, we're going to talk about what you're going to get for being here live. Second, I'm going to share the challenge that 82% of clubs face, and I've put a lot of work into getting this data, so I really hope that you enjoy it. Third, I'm going to show you how your club can actually solve these challenges, not in theory, but actually in what works right now. And first, I'm going to show you how you can implement all this for your club, no matter the size you are at, no matter where you start from. So let's start with what you're going to get for being here live. Let me address the elephant in the room. As you probably read on my mails or on the website before signing up, we have prepared something for you. And we have prepared something that has taken a lot of time for us and something that is more expensive than a single and less expensive than an eight. And the fact, and if you act fast, your club could, and if you act fast and your club takes action, you might be able to get it for free. Now, I can't tell you yet what it is. You have to stay with me to find out. And at the end of this presentation, I'm going to tell you how to get it for free, so watch out for that. Now, to the main event. You see, I'm a big believer of proof. Everyone can say things, but few can actually prove them. And over the last several months, I've been in direct contact with rowing federations across Europe and beyond. I'm talking about British Rowing, Dutch Rowing Federation, Norwegian Rowing, Danish, Swedish, Finnish, German, Swiss, Austrian, Rowing US, Rowing Australia, Rowing New Zealand. And as you probably guessed it, I've also been in contact with Flutter Rowing Federation, who, by the way, I want to thank for having us here. Celine and the other ones in the federation have helped a lot with getting this presentation to happen. Now, you're probably wondering, why did I do all this? Why take hundreds of hours talking to federations? You see, federations have something that individual clubs don't have: perspective across hundreds of clubs. They can see patterns, what works, what fails, and what keeps coming over and over again. So when I talked with federations, it was like doing a large scale research across the entire rowing community. And what's fascinating is that despite different countries, despite different cultures, despite different club sizes, the same challenges keep coming up again and again. But what's even more interesting is that what is even more interesting is that before this presentation, you filled in a survey, and uh, I actually went ahead and read your responses, and I couldn't believe it. The challenges you described were one-to-one identical with what the federations told me and showed me in our meetings with them. Word for word, challenge for challenge. So what I'm about to share with you today, it's not theory, it's actually what clubs are experiencing. And I think you're going to recognize a lot of it. So let me show you exactly what these challenges are. Let's start with the obvious one. The first thing that keeps coming up again and again is coaches. Clubs are struggling to have enough coaches. Everything ends up on few people. And if people quit, years of work collapse. And the club has to start from the start again. Now, not only that, but a lot of clubs have also experienced that it's getting harder and harder to get people to commit as coaches, and that's just because of how the society is heading right now. People are busier, they have more demand on their time, and clubs that are solely run on volunteers are getting hit even harder by this. This is something that I probably saw the most when I read through the survey. And here's the thing, this needs to be fixed because, as you soon will realize, these challenges are strongly related to each other. So even if you only have even if you only are experiencing one of these right now, it could affect another area at your club very quickly. So I want you to take a second and think just for your own club. How many coaches do you have right now? Why is that? Why don't you have more coaches than that? And what happens if these people get tired? What happens if some of them move away, they get a new job, or decide to take a break? How quickly will things fall apart? And how long will it take it to rebuild it again? Now, that said, let's go and look into the next challenge, which is that clubs are losing just as many people they are bringing in year after year. And this makes running the clubs much harder because you put a lot of time and energy into bringing new people only to see them leave by a few months or at most a year, which means that these people never stay long enough to start help out. They never take small responsibilities, they never make running the club easier, and they never take weight off your shoulders. And I hope you agree with me, it's much easier to run things smoothly when a lot of people help out than when just few people always have to do everything on their own. So let me ask you this. How many people do you think that the average club retains throughout the first year of new people coming in? 60, 50, 40, 30? Well, after looking at dozens of clubs and talking with federations, the average club retains less than 17% of people that come into the club. That means that of all the new people who are coming in and becoming members, only 17 of them stay on average more than a year. And in a lot of cases, it's even less than that. And worst of all, the people that leave probably don't talk that well about the sport, which is making it harder and harder to get people in the future. Now, let me talk about the next challenge, something that we have also seen coming up time after time, and that a big portion of you also expressed in the survey. It is that clubs don't have enough money to invest in their future. Now, I must say this is a bit more personalized, since some clubs are fortunate enough to have different income streams, and some of them are actually very well off. But the point is that, as a rule of thumb, rowing clubs right now are undercharging, and it's not by a little, by the way, it's by a lot. And I get it, clubs are non-profit, they are meant to be accessible, but because clubs want to be nice and give back to the community, they often set prices as low as possible so that people can get involved in rowing. That sounds great until you realize that that leads that you cannot pay coaches, you cannot upgrade equipment, and you cannot improve your facilities. And do you see what I meant earlier? These things go hand in hand. If you don't have enough money at your club, how are you going to be able to convince someone to coach regularly? And if you don't have people that coach regularly, how are you going to take care of your members so they stay long enough and actually help out? Which brings me to the last big challenge that we have seen coming up time after time. And this is something that I think a lot of clubs don't even realize is a struggle. But that's how you get people to your club in the first place. Most clubs are completely passive when it comes to bringing in people. They just take whoever finds them. And then, I mean, think about it. How do most people discover your club? They maybe Google rowing near me, maybe a friend mentions it, or maybe they walk past your boathouse a day and get curious. That's it. That's the entire strategy. So you just hope that people show up. The struggle with this is that you have zero control. You don't control how many people find you. You don't control what kind of people find you. And you don't control when they found you. You just take whoever comes through the door and hope for the best. That means you cannot plan. That means you can't predict anything and you cannot grow intentionally. And oftentimes, to be honest, you don't get the type of people that value the sport and could see themselves becoming rowers. You get people that just want to try it once and then leave. This is something that's not only frustrating, but also something that makes clubs incredibly unpredictable to run. I mean, think about it. How can you plan ahead of time when you don't know how many people will join? How can you prepare coaches when you don't know how many of them you need? And I've been, which is, it makes just life hard. Now, I've been talking a lot, so I would like to take a short break, and I want you to share which challenge you have been actually having most problem getting right. Is it one, not enough coaches? Is it two, not giving people long enough? Three, not having enough money? Or four, not being able to control how many people come into the club? So which one have you struggled the most? You can just write it on the chat so we don't put the microphones. It gets a lot of noise. So just write in the chat which one you have struggled the most last years at the club so I can see that, and then we can continue. Not enough coaches. Go ahead, you can just write 1, 2, 3, 4. It's the easiest. Two, money. Three, as you can see, everyone is everyone has the different things. Not enough funds. Cool. Thank you for sharing. Now, what I would like to do next is actually talk about how you can solve this stuff. But before we do that, we must ask ourselves, why are they so common? Well, there are actually two different reasons. First, these challenges exist because clubs don't have systems. Now, I actually sent something about this on one of the mails that I sent you before this presentation. But let me explain what I mean with systems, because I know that this is a word that is getting thrown around a lot and people don't really understand it. A system is nothing more than a predictable way of doing something that's not dependent on a single person. It means that people can do it now, they can do it in the future, and they can do it in the future. And even if you are not there, or even if the person that created it is not there, that's it. That's what the system is. And right now, most clubs don't have systems in four key areas that we're going to talk about. And the other reason is that most clubs are doing things that used to work for years ago and hope that they're going to continue working today. So now that you know why these are so common, let's see how we can fix them. So what I want to do now is to walk you through solutions, real solutions, things that are actually working. And by the way, these solutions are not only things that we have done with clubs we work with, but also stuff that successful organizations are already doing. So why try to figure out everything on your own for years when you can just take what's already working and implement it? That said, let's unveil them one by one. So let's start with coaches. A lot of clubs think that you need to find coaches, that they are out there somewhere, they are fully trained, and they are just waiting to be discovered. But the truth is that you don't need to find coaches, you need to create them. No one is born a coach, just like no one is born knowing how to row. So if you go in with that mindset, it becomes much easier to be successful because now you know actually what you are looking for. You need to find people and get them into coaching. And these people usually already exist within your club. Maybe at the club nearby, they might be members that have rowed for years or young athletes, maybe around 18 to 22, who would like some extra income. Now that we know where to find them, let's talk about what we are going to give them so we get them to coaching. Because here's the biggest mistake I see clubs do all the time. They say we need coaches, but they don't give anything back to the people. So the real question is, what are you going to give coaches so they actually want to help out? And I get it. Like I said, some years ago, it was expected that you would actually take turns in the afternoons and coach voluntarily. That was normal. But today, with how society is, it's almost impossible to ask someone to do something without giving something back. And by the way, I'm not just talking about giving them money. So here is what we make sure that we give to coaches when we work with clubs. We make sure to offer four things to coaches so they want to help out. First, we make sure that we compensate their time, and it doesn't have to be by a lot, but just giving something back. Second, we make sure that they feel prepared, that they have got some education, that they have a program in place. This makes them actually want to coach because they feel that they are getting better at coaching and that they are getting better rowers themselves by the education. Third, we make sure that the athletes show gratitude towards the coaches. That recognition matters more than you think. And fourth, we make sure that the sessions are actually fun to run so coaches stay motivated and want to keep doing it. So stop just asking for coaches. Instead, look within your club, look within your existing members, and try to make a good offer to them. And I guarantee it's going to be much easier than you think to get more people involved to coaching. And if you don't believe me, if you think that no one in your club is going to actually help out with coaching, let me tell you this. We have got more than 187 people into coaching, people who never thought they would coach, but thanks to putting a good offer in front of them, they got interested. And I will show you exactly in a bit how we do this, but I hope you got a better understanding of how to solve the coaching challenge. Now, let's talk about keeping people. This is another topic that a lot of club thinks that it's out of their hands, that people just leave because of reasons they cannot control. Life gets busy, people move, or people don't like rowing. Well, the truth is that retention is much more simple and it's a very well documented topic. So let's talk about how to get people to stay really quick. And if this is something that you have been struggling with, then you can start implementing this right away. Now, I want you to think what makes actually people want to leave. Because usually it's not that they hate rowing, it's because they feel lost, or they don't know what's supposed to happen next, or maybe they don't feel connected with anyone at your club, and then they choose to leave. Now, if you have been listening this far, I hope you understand why retention matters so much. When people stay longer at your club, they start helping out, you can continue collect membership fees, and you don't need to constantly run initiatives to bring new people to the club because you don't need to replace the ones you have lost because you don't lose them. So there are a lot of benefits of actually making people to stay at your club longer. The question is, how do you do it? So here's what I want you to think when it comes to retention. Retention starts from the first step someone takes within your club, not 2 to 3 months after they have started your club. And what you need to do is to make sure that you structure the first period of someone joining your club so it feels exciting for them, and that you get them in touch with as many people as possible at the club so they actually make new friends. Because at the end of the day, if you just make sure that people get better and better at rowing and they make more friends at your club, then chances are that they are not going to quit. It's really that simple. And by the way, this is not something new. This is something that successful organizations already do. They invest heavily on onboarding, making sure that people feel welcome, they create connections early, and your club should absolutely be doing the same. And this is something that we tell clubs all the time. Just by making small tweaks on how you welcome people, we have seen clubs go from 10 to 20% retention to 50 to 60% retention within months, and without having to actually do much work. It's just some small changes. So I hope you understand how to keep people longer. Now let's talk about pricing. And this is a topic I know that most clubs don't really like to talk about because they think that it's going to create hard conversations with existing members. They think that when that if you raise the price, they are going to meet a lot of pushbacks, that people would get upset and people might also leave. So because of that, they don't do anything. They just stay stuck. But here's the thing, you don't increase the price for old members. What most clubs get wrong is that you either go all in or nothing. Neither we raise prices to everyone, but that's not how you do it. What you want to do is to set up a good structure for new members first, give new members better service, better experience, and because of that, you are going to be able to charge a higher price. And then you can decide if you want to raise the price for the older members too. And when you do it gradually, carefully, and you also improve the experience so they get something back for it. We have seen clubs do this with huge success and no one gets mad. Why? Because they ease into it, because they don't just raise prices, they make sure that the service becomes better. And trust me, if you do that, no one is going to be upset. And you are finally going to have a model that allows you to invest in coaches, equipment, and everything else you need to run a well functioning club for the years to come. Now, let's talk about the last one, which has to do with how you bring people into the club. Like I said, most clubs operate like people are supposed to find them, not the other way around. But they put something on their website, maybe a post on social media, and they wait for people to show up. But here's how it should work. You should find them, not the other way around. Because when you do that, then everything becomes more predictable. Because now you decide who you are bringing in. You decide how many, you are in control. Now, how do you do this in practice? Well, you put together a clear message about what your club offers, and then you put that message in front of the right people in your city. People who would love rowing, people who would love being at your community, and people who want to try something new and stick with it. You reach out to them, you get them excited, and then get them to sign up. And now you know exactly how many people are going to come. You can prepare your coaches and you can plan everything ahead of time. And this makes everything much easier. It's like rowing on pavement. It's easy, fun, and effortless. Okay, now we have covered a lot. 4 problems, 4 solutions. We have talked about coaches. We have talked about the way of bringing in people. We've talked about retention. We have talked about how to make more money. And I know what you're probably thinking by now. You're thinking, this sounds great, but it also sounds like a lot of work. And you are right. If you try to fix all this separately, one by one, over months or years, it would be overwhelming. And most clubs would give up before they get anywhere. But what if I told you that there is a different way? What if I told you that all this can be solved by running one simple program, not 4 separate initiatives, not years of gradual change, only one program for 4 weeks? Now, let me explain how it works. First, you gather the coaches within your club, people who are already members, people who are already committed, people who already love the sport, and you make sure that they learn how to coach and give them a clear offer for what they're going to get back for helping you. Then you run real promotion, a proper campaign that allows you to plan everything better And because you are actively marketing, you can get to choose who is joining, how many people are joining, depending on how many coaches you have gathered. No guessing, no hoping. Then you run a proper 4-week program, clear structures, social elements, real coaching, something that makes people excited and want to continue rowing much longer. And at the end of the program, you make a clear offer for people to continue, and you price it so that it allows you to pay coaches, cover your costs, and invest in your club. You see what happened? One program, and we solved 4 challenges. You developed your coaches within the club. You actively brought people, which helped you plan. You created a structured experience that makes people want to stay, and you priced it correctly so that the club actually makes money. One program, everything connected. Now, I know what you are probably thinking. Okay, this sounds good in theory, but you don't understand, Ruben. My club is different. This is not going to work for us. We are a recreational club. We are a medium-sized club. We are a small club. We are a volunteer club. We are a big club. We are a special club. Now, look, I understand that every club is unique and every club has its own challenges depending on what your current situation is. So what I would like to do next is to show you some of the clubs that we have worked with and what the results they have got thanks to this setup. And you guessed it, we have worked with recreational clubs, medium-sized clubs, small clubs, voluntarily run clubs, big clubs, and special clubs. So let's look at some of the examples and what they got for the results. And you will really soon realize that there is no real advantage in being big or small when it comes to this. Clubs of different sizes have all their own pros and cons, and you simply have to deal with that until you become structured enough that everything becomes easier. So now, if you are a small club, I want to talk to you for a second because I know that being small is tough. You don't have enough resources, you don't have enough people, you don't have things in place. Everything feels like a stretch. And it's easy to think that we are going to grow when we have more coaches, when we have more money, when we have better facilities. But the truth is that if you just wait, you are never going to get any of those because nothing changes on its own. So at this stage, what you need to do is simply work with what you have and get some people into the club because that's going to allow you to build the future. Now, let me concretely show you an example of a club that actually did this. Let me introduce to you Jönköping Rowing Association, one of the first clubs we helped, and a club that was really small when we got in touch with them. The club had only a handful of members when we got started, and honestly, the conditions were not the best either. There was actually a flood on the lake that we ran the program. So water was all the way up to the boathouse. Typically, when you try to do something good, everything seems to go against you. So what did we do with Jönköping? Well, we acted anyway. So we put together a team of coaches that, from the people that still were at the club, plus we reached out to a nearby club full of students and said that we will pay you if you actually help out with coaching. And surely enough, a lot of students showed interest. So the first year we ran this program, we had 67 people going through it and 32 continued as new members. Now remember, these are active members. These are members that stay at the club, and these members paid much more to be at the club than the club was taking before. So they changed fundamentally everything. These people got integrated, they started to help out the club, and they did all kinds of activities that actually start to develop the club again. But here's the interesting part. Jönköping ran this program this year again for the second time. And since more than 2/3 of the people were still training from last year, and they also used the students that helped on the first year who continued to coach, this year they ran the program with 105 people, and 55 of them continued as members. So just so you get the idea, this club was almost empty, and now they have 85 active members in just a year. Their finances have changed, they've bought new boats, everything is different. And this goes to show that even if you are small, if you execute right, you can get huge results. So if you are a small club out there, I saw that some of you are actually here from the survey. I need you to understand this. It's easy to focus on what you don't have, coaches, good facility, money, but you also need to remember that you actually do have some advantages. You are flexible, you have more empty times on your schedule that you can welcome new people, and members that you have are probably really close to each other, which makes it easier to do things together. That's and that's exactly what you need to do. You just need to bring people, use the momentum, so you can get to the next step. And this and how you grow where size and how you grow to the size where things start to feel easier and when everything works without having to put a lot of stress on a few people. Now, if you are a medium-sized club, the situation is completely different. You probably already have some infrastructure, you have some coaches, you maybe are stuck in a plateau. Growing feels hard. You are caught in the middle. You are too big to not have things in place and too small to go to the next level. So for medium-sized clubs, the focus should be on bringing in more members who can pay a fair amount, because that's what allows you to pay the coaches properly. And once you can do that, then you can get more people involved into coaching. And when you have all these pieces, then things start to work together. So that's exactly what a medium-sized club called Stockholm's Rowing Club did. What we did was that we looked into their members, see who could actually help with train beginners, with coaching beginners, because the club at the time had only two coaches that were coaching voluntarily, and they also were a little bit older. So what we did, so we did that, and then on top of that, we also looked at what age group the club was underrepresented at, and we found something interesting. There were actually quite a lot of people that could potentially coach, but they weren't coaching, either because the club didn't ask them or because they asked in a bad way. And we also noticed that the club had a few kids and had a few older members, but almost no one in the ages between 20 and 40. And that's exactly where we decided to focus. We ran a program with them where 14 of their members within the club went through the education and learned how to take care of beginners. And we brought 85 young adults in the ages of 20 to 40. Now, 42 of them continued at the club and actually paid 4 times higher price than the club was taking before, which allowed the club to actually have enough money to pay the coaches for ongoing training and also have money over to invest in the club. So, and this also made that the club also retained more people and that more members started to compete for the ones that got in. So just like I said, if you are a medium-sized club, it's going to be much easier to find coaches within your club because you already have some, and you just need to focus on providing good services to people so you can charge a fair price and so that you can pay your coaches, buy new boats, and reinvest in the club so you can go to the next level. Now, remember, you do this by taking it step by step. You don't just change prices overnight for everyone. You try it first with a little group of new people, see how it works, and if it works well, then you implement it to the other people also. Now, if you are a large club, the situation is different again. You probably have an easy time finding coaches. You are not struggling that much when it comes to finding equipment, but at this stage, you need to make things run more effective and more predictably, because that's how you free up space and time to focus on what you want to focus with your club. And that's exactly what Indianapolis Rowing Center did, one of the top 10 biggest clubs in the US. Before we ran the program with Indianapolis, they were running 5 beginner programs a year with around 10 to 20 participants each. not because they wanted, but because they had no choice. On paper, all was good. They had good coaches, they had new expensive boats, they had a lot of money from their memberships, but they were missing something really important: freedom and a predictable way of bringing in people to the club, so they didn't need to run 5 programs every year, which started up their coaches enormously. And that's exactly what we focused on. So here's what we did with Indianapolis. We got adult members who were already at the club, plus young college students who were training there. We got them to train so they become coaches, and we made sure to promote the program correctly. And it worked. We got 120 people going through the program, and of those, we convert 50 into members. And because the program gave people such a good experience, they were also able to raise their prices from $130 per month to $200. And if you do the math, $200 times 50 members, that's $10,000 per month from the new people. Now, this is US, so pricing is a little bit different, but still, let's say that that translates to 100 euros per month. Don't you think that that would be life-changing amount of money for your club? I think so, because I've seen it and I've seen what it does for clubs. In Indianapolis case, it allowed them to be more predictable, and they actually end up hiring a new full-time coach just from this program. So from now on, they are just running this program when needed, and they are done with running small, ineffective programs. So for large clubs, if you want to get to the next level, it's just about becoming more efficient with your time. Now, imagine this: a year from now, you have a stable team of coaches, people who are trained, they are compensated fairly, who actually want to be there, no more begging, no more convincing. You have a predictable income, you know how much is coming in every month. You actually can plan ahead, not just for the next week, but for the next year. And you have systems in place that allow you to do things that you would like to do, but you can't, like invest in your youth development, support your master's team, travel to regattas without stressing about if you can afford it or not, and buy that new boat that you have been talking about so long. And actually just enjoying running the club instead of having to think of all the time surviving instead of growing. So, and that's possible. That's possible if you have the systems, if you have the structure, and if you stop depending on luck. And that's when your club thrives. But now I want to snap you back to reality, because based on what you said on the survey that you filled before this event, I know that most of you are not there yet. Most of you are still struggling with at least one of these 4 problems, and many of you are actually struggling with all 4 of them. And that's okay. That's actually what most clubs, where most clubs are right now. But if you take what I was talking about today, I'm sure that you're going to be in a much better place this coming year. And even if you can do this yourself, it's going to take some time and probably cost you some money to do that. But don't worry, I'm not just here to present today. I actually want to help out also. So let me really quickly walk you through how we help clubs, because I think you're going to like it. You remember the program I was talking before earlier that fixes all these common problems that clubs are facing. Someone just wrote something. Where? I can check. You remember the program I was talking before that fixes all these common challenges? Well, what if we actually help you take care of the hard parts so it becomes easier for your club to run this and get all the benefits without having to put hours from your own time, but so that you can still get the benefits? Well, here is how it works. First, we help you gather the coaches within your club, educate them, make sure that they are exciting and actually know how to take care of participants. This way, they feel that coaching is fun and they want to continue doing it even after the program. We have a full coaching education based on everything that we know it's important for coaches to understand before they start working with beginners. And we provide all this to your coaches so they actually feel ready and they actually want to show up and help out. Now, once you do that, we make sure also to bring people in predictably in the right way. We do this by taking care of everything, creating the promotion, showing it to the right people, getting them excited, and getting them to sign up for the program and also handle the communication. This way, you can get new, engaged people in a predictable way without having to work at all for getting them. Now, once you have the people, the only part left is to actually run the program. So what we help with here is that we give you all the tools you would ever need in order to run a program smoothly and in order to make execution as easy as possible for the club. When I'm saying everything, I'm talking about communication sequence. I'm talking about what participants should be doing week by week, how the events are run, everything. Basically, the whole blueprint on how to run a program so that people like it, are excited about it, and want to stay at your club long term. Now, even if you do everything that I've said perfectly up until this point, the last part is to convert people into members. And since we have already discussed multiple times that when you run a program like this, you want to convert people at a fair price so you have enough money to pay the coaches, that's exactly what we help you do. We help you convert people into long-term members by using the methods we use. We consistently convert 40 to 60% of participants into long-term members, which is great and which is something that a lot of clubs are struggling to do on their own. Just so you understand now what you get from a program like this. So you get marketing, which means that you can bring 30 to 60 new members to your club. You get the members that these new people bring. You get the systems that makes everything easier to run. And you also get help with gathering and training people to become coaches so that you can grow predictably and so that they can continue coaching these people. Now, let me really quickly walk you through how much this would cost for your club. To give you some context, if you try to run something like this yourself, or if you hired someone to help you run a program like this at this scale with this quality, then the costs add up. If you want to run a program like this on your own with similar retention, with converting new members into 500 euros to 1,000 euros per year memberships, then you would need to invest some money in order to get everything back. So let me really quickly walk you through how this looks like. First, you need a marketing agency that creates the ads, right? The text, targets the ads to the right people, and this can cost everything between 7 to 15,000 euros. Then you would actually need to pay for the reach, pay Facebook and Instagram, so people can actually see this advertising that you are doing. That's another 5 to 7,000 euros. Then you would need to create the videos, the images, make sure that they are of good quality. That's something that also costs 2 to 3,000 euros. Then you would need someone to help you convert as many people as possible into members. That's also something that would cost you around 4 to 5,000 euros. And of course, you would need coaches to actually run the program. And depending on the size of the program you are running, that is going to be around 4 to 7,000 euros. So, and if your coaches haven't coached before, they probably also need some education, which would land around 2 to 3,000 euros. So it would cost you around 35,000 euros. And I'm not even counting things that you cannot actually buy. I'm not talking about a support of a team that have done this dozens of times with clubs at your size. How much do you think that would be worth? And I'm not talking about having the exact step-by-step systems on how to do everything that your club can just copy instead of having to think. How much would that cost, do you think? Or I'm not even talking about the fact that we have a specific app for this program with technique exercises, with a course video, participation communication that makes everything easy and the whole experience much better for new people, so they actually stay as long as possible. And I'm absolutely not talking about the systems that we have created for years that get people to actually stay at the club as long as possible. How much do you think that would cost? Probably a lot more. So at the end of the day, if you actually paid 35,000 euros, it would still be worth it. I mean, think about it. If all it did was get more people involved with coaching, wouldn't that be worth it? If all it did was bring predictable new revenue to the club, wouldn't that be worth it? If all it did was actually make it more enjoyable to be at your club because it's easier to run, wouldn't that be worth 35,000 euros? Well, I think so too. But don't worry, you don't need to pay 35,000 today, because when we first started to package this, we were thinking to price it at 15,000 euros. I mean, it's still a huge discount from the real value that you get, and something that can for sure transform your club, and it's more than reasonable at that price. Think about it. If you had all the systems that other clubs are already using to make more money, have more coaches, get better retention, don't you think that your club will be also more successful? But then we thought even 15,000 is a big decision for most clubs, especially clubs that are struggling. So then we considered 10,000 euros, not cheap, but 100% worth it, because you just need to invest in this one time, and it creates momentum that lasts for years. And just like I showed you earlier, most of the clubs that we help with this are making way more than 10,000 euros within the first month from the new members that they are bringing through this program. But then we thought, what if we went even lower? What if we actually priced it at 5,000 euros? This way, more clubs can get this. And at 5,000 euros, almost any club could make it work. One fundraising, one grant application, one generous sponsor, and you would get 30 to 60 new members, develop your coaches, get people to stay longer at your club, and get the money to reinvest in your club. But then we thought, what if we did it completely differently? What if we charged 0 euros? Now, I know this sounds crazy, so let me really quickly explain to you how it works. You see, what we do is that we pay everything upfront, the marketing, we pay for the coaching education, the systems, everything. We invest in your club upfront, and then when the program runs and participants join, we use the money that comes to cover the coaching cost, to cover the marketing, the systems, and our team costs, and keep what's left over from the first 4 weeks. And that's it. That's how you can get all of this without paying a single dollar from the club's money. And after 4 weeks, you keep everything. You keep 100% of the money that comes in through new members. You keep new educated coaches. You keep the engaged members, and you keep all the momentum that this program brings. Now, you probably are wondering, why are we doing this? And there are two different reasons. First, this way, our incentives are aligned. We win only if you win. If the program fails, we lose money. So we are very, very motivated to make this program succeed, because we are taking all the risk. Now, the second one is because we have seen what this does for clubs. We have seen the transformations. We have seen what's possible once clubs run a program like this. And the best way to get more clubs to do this is by making it free to start. Now, I know that some of you maybe think, if it's free, is it really valuable? And I want to address that directly. All the examples I've shown in this presentation were thanks to this program. All the money that the clubs have generated, all the coaches that they've got, all the new members that they've gained. So yeah, if you value all that, then this is super valuable. And that's also why we have a lot of clubs all over the world that are going to do this in 2026. We have clubs from US, we have clubs from Sweden, Norway, UK, Australia, New Zealand, Finland, and more. And you could become one of them. Now, I need to be very clear about something. We cannot help everyone. I wish we could, I really do, but it's simply not possible because we are the ones paying everything up front, paying for the marketing, paying for the systems, paying for the coaches. We cannot work with every club because we need to be confident that we can actually deliver results. And if we think that we can, if we don't think that we can help you succeed, we can work with you. It's simple as that. Because if you don't succeed, then, like I said earlier, we lose money. So we have to be a little bit selective. And since also this is the first time this program will run in Belgium, we have decided that it makes more sense to start at a small scale with 3 clubs this year. And if you are not one of these 3 clubs, then you don't need to worry because chances are that we can help you in the future. But honestly, even if you just take what we talked about today and just make sure that you implement at a small scale with your club, I'm sure that you're going to get much better results than any year before. Now, here's what happens next. I'm going to share a link with you. So if you would like some help with your club, if you would like to get everything that I've talked about today for free, then you can go ahead and go to the link growyourclub.com and send your application. Now, this is not a commitment. This is just application. And we are going to review every application very carefully throughout the week. And by next week on Monday, we will let you know if you are qualified. But if you are interested, I would really recommend that you don't wait until Monday because we are going to prioritize the applications that get sent it first. Now, if you qualify, what we are going to do is that we're going to book a call with you. We are going to answer your questions and make sure that this is a fit for both of us before we go forward. And then we are going to get started at working together so we make sure that your club gets all this. But like I said, the first step is just filling in the application, showing your interest. And just like I said before, you do that by going to growyourclub.com, pressing on apply today, and that's it. Then you have done everything you need to do. All right, we have covered a lot today. We have talked about the core 4 problems that rowing clubs are facing. We have talked about the problems that the federation sees, that you also described on the survey. We have also talked about how to fix these problems and why these problems exist, which is lack of systems. And I gave you solutions, real solutions, proven solutions that real clubs are doing. And we also talked about how to implement this at your stage for your club right now, and also gave you the chance to get help without you investing anything out of your pocket. So I hope you feel like I've kept my promise and that you have learned something today. And and I also hope that what I said in the beginning, that if you stay with me and actually wait until the end, that you're going to get opportunity to get something that costs more than a single and the less than an 8. I hope that I delivered on that. So the opportunity is here. The link is here. The question is, are you going to take it? Now, that was the presentation, my friends. Thank you so much for your attention.